Durkat's getting all the good apps. Durkat's getting all the good apps, all the good apps, all the good apps, 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 all the good apps, all the good apps. Durkat's getting all the good apps, apps. Apps, all the good apps. There we go. That was just a little electro montage of stuff about Durkat's apps. Yeah, so Logic Session's all about weird electronic. I can't even say that stuff. Quick. Logic Session's all about improvised, half-assed electronica and some light philosophy and stuff about space. So I wanted to have a little chat about. I always have to precede it with that. I wanted to have a little chat. To have a little chat. I wanted to have a little chat about entropy. And the reason I'm thinking about entropy at the minute is because of the whole New Year's thing, and everyone goes out and does a big New Year's ting, like, oh yeah, let's get ball bagged in town, we're going to get battered, we're going to take some drugs, and we're going to drink some booze, and we're going to cram into a bar and have a great time. And I always wondered why New Year's Eve, and of course it's the end of a year, it marks the end of a year and the beginning of a new year, but what does that even mean? That 365 days. What does that mean? I mean, time really means nothing. If you think about it, there's no purpose in time. The only thing time does is kind of measures decay or entropy. Now that might sound a bit weird, but just think about it for a moment. If we lived forever and nothing rotted down, then there would be no entropy, there would be no decay. And if that was the case, we would have no need to measure time. If there was no death, there would be no need to measure time. We only measure time because we know we're going to die. So we need to do things in a hurry. Imagine living forever. You wouldn't buy a watch. Would you get a watch if you lived forever? Well, I suppose you'd need one if you wanted to hold down a job and turn up to work on time. Entropy. So yeah, time just measures decay. What does that mean? Well, I don't know what it means. It means that there's no point in me going out and getting ball bagged on New Year's Eve. Also, I guess if you think about the idea of entropy or decay, it makes you think about what the end is. What is the end? What are we measuring time to get towards? Well, of course, there's the end of your own life. That's one thing to measure. Well, that's something that's worth knowing about. But what about the end of the Earth or the end of the universe? We have to measure time because those things are going to end as well. The universe is going to end at some point, and that is one of my favourite topics. What is going to happen to the universe? Universe. Telefunken radio. What is going to happen to the universe? Well, one of the theories, and maybe the leading theory, says that there will be an eventual heat death of the universe. Now, it's going to be difficult to try and comprehend this, but I lie in bed every night and consider this sort of thing, so I've kind of got my head round it. And the best way I can describe the end of the universe is this, and I'm going to use a child analogy to hammer this one home because it makes sense to me. Chester. Okay, so if I put my two children in a room and there's 20 Lego houses that I have made, right? Now, slowly, over the course of a few hours, they're going to break those Lego houses to bits because they're like that. They're those sorts of kids. You know the sorts of kids that snatch off you and smash stuff up? They're those sorts of kids. Kids. So, there's a room with a load of 20 Lego houses in it, and they're going to smash them up. Now, if you take a snapshot of those Lego houses right at the start, it'll look like 20 Lego houses, and that's what our universe looks like. Except let's substitute those houses for galaxies and star systems. So, like the Milky Way is like one of those 20 houses. Now what's going to happen is Chester and Rudy are going to slowly smash them up over the course of a few days. And all of a sudden, I look in there a few days later, and there's some chunks of houses rather than whole houses. Smashed up bits have come away. So yeah, they're broken down into about 100 different bits now. Much like the universe is slowly breaking down into bits. Our sun is going to die at some point, and as it does, all the heat will go from our little solar system, and there'll be no life, and the planets will just drift off into space, and that'll be the end of that. That's like one of those Lego houses breaking up. Now, if you let Chester and Rudy stay in that Lego house, in the Lego room, for an infinite amount of time, eventually all of the houses will be smashed into their constituent parts. Now, what's the constituent parts of the universe? Well, the constituent parts of the universe are atoms and photons and things like that. So, looking at my room now with Chester and Rudy in it, I've got Lego spread evenly over the floor, all broken down into as small a bit as it can be. And in the universe, in the far distant future, it will be the same. Planets will have drifted off, smashed into each other, broken up into chunks, broken into smaller bits, and in an infinite amount of time, or as near to infinite as you can possibly conceive, the universe will be spread so thinly there will be nothing, not even heat. There will be zero heat and zero matter. It will just be photons whizzing around. That's the inevitable heat death of the universe. Now, imagine rewinding all the way back to the start of this little bit of pissy banter, right? Let's see if I've got a rewind sound. So when I'm stood in fucking Yates's waiting for a pint on New Year's Eve, and I start to think about the heat death of the universe and the infinite Lego room, makes me think, why don't I just stay at home? Okay, let's have some tunes, right. Oh gosh, 16 beat on the Yamaha Portasound PSS 170, go. Right, turn down echo, echo out, right, okay. Let's lock the tempo in. Tempo's at 120, locked. Let's get some wobble bass on. Okay, we locked it in, we locked on. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Logic session, Wednesday night. It's Kosh. It's Kosh. It's Kosh. It's Kosh. Oh, giddy giddy gosh goes out to the listeners in the chat room listening in. It's Kosh. So yeah, big shout out goes to all the chat room crew listening in. It looks like it's filling up in there. Moby Diculous. Joe Curtin is bigging up the bass explosion. Yes, Oh no, the angry Scotsman's wanting the sub turned down. What about this? Right, okay, Joe, I want you to comment on the speaker balloon, okay? Hold tight. Okay, let's do a speaker balloon test, okay? We're going to try and get some real deep tones coming out. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, man.
So, Logic session every Wednesday night. Yeah, we had a bit of a problem earlier on with the vibes. We were getting some weird equipment problems. I'm gonna have to take some photos of my setup here at Studio Foster Street, because you'll be able to appreciate how much of a faff it is to get it all working. Yes, raising up all the listeners. So 2013, it's a new year. It's a whole new vibe. It's a whole new Telefunk and Radio vibe. It's great to note that Telefunk and Radio now has been going for something like 6 weeks. 6 whole weeks. I was impressed. We always kind of put a finite time limit of about 2 weeks. Usually what happens is Turf Daddy, the station manager, gets some interest going, gets the vibe going, spends several £100 on a license for some piece of software like Spreaker, just starts really getting all the artwork going, the website built, and we bottle it, and then everyone just fades out and plays Terraria or whatever. Well, this time I think we've transcended that. We've got regular listenership. Shows are getting about 100 listeners per show, which is pretty good going. And we're getting people that I don't even know listening in, which is a massive boost. Anyone who's listening to this live, then you need to big yourselves up for taking some time out your night to have your speakers ballooned. And if you're listening to it on the podcast, a big hello. I'm calling you the Doom Squadron, because you couldn't be bothered to listen to it live. Although I don't know why that makes you the Doom Squadron. Doom Squadron. Squadron. Yeah, it's all about just capturing a little bit of your voice. Yeah, it's all about just capturing a little bit of your voice. Yeah, it's all about just capturing a little bit of your voice. Yeah, it's all about just capturing a little bit of your voice. Gosh. Telefunk and Radio. Logic. So, how's it going, everyone? Yeah, a little thought experiment for you. It's 2 sailors in the sea, and there's 1 plank that's floating. All right, the sailors are going to drown if they don't get on the plank. But the plank only has room for 1 sailor. So, sailor number 1, Bob, gets onto the plank. Sailor number 2 is off the plank, right? So sailor number 2, so Bob's on the plank, Dave is in the sea. Dave pushes Bob off the plank and gets onto the plank, right? So, is Dave a murderer? He's pushed the guy off the plank. He's going to drown now. The guy's been pushed off the plank. Dave's going to survive. Is Dave a murderer? Has Dave killed someone? Or could it be classed as self-defence? Because if he hadn't have pushed the guy off, he would have died. What do the listeners in the chat room think? Okay, chat room has spoken. Captain Bob and One-Eyed Dave is the cry. Yes. So yeah, it's an interesting concept to consider. Self-defense. What is self-defense? Killing another man to save yourself. That's self-defense, right? Captain Bob and Sailor Dave. 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 Captain Bob and Sailor Dave.